Okay, so in this video, we're going to be going over some practice questions for sets. So I've taken some questions from past papers and other sources that should hopefully prepare you for the final exam or any tests around sets or whatever. So it should just reinforce your understanding in general and understand how the exam might be structured when coming to questions like these. So I've just taken a question from CIM Extended Paper 4. So there are 100 students in a year group. Each student studies at least one of the languages, French, Italian, and Spanish. So this means that they have to be in these sets of circles because they study at least one of the languages. So none of them will be outside in this region here. So X students study all 3 languages. Yep, we've denoted it by this already. Y students study French only. You can label that Y. 18 students study Italian only. You can label that 18. 4 students study French and Italian, but not Spanish. 12 students study French and Spanish, but not Italian. 2 students study Italian and Spanish, but not French. And 74 students study only one language. So we should show this information on the Venn diagram. And we have, because we've written down the values in the correct places. I'm just going to add one more. So for the people who only do Spanish, I'm going to write that as S, because that's an unknown, and we know that people do, there are people doing Spanish only as well. Okay, so let's move on to part 2. We've done part 1, pretty straightforward. Twice as many students study French as Italian. Find the number of students who study all 3 subjects. Okay, so all 3 subjects, that's denoted by X. And what we can do is, knowing that twice as many students study French as Italian, make an equation. So I'm going to do it up here because there's more space. So number of students studying French is everything in this region right over here. So that's 4 plus 12 plus Y, which is, plus X, sorry, as well, which is the same as X plus Y plus 16. Now with Italian, it's 18 plus 4 plus 2 plus X, which gives us X plus 24. And knowing that twice as many students study French, so it would be 2 times the number of people studying Italian, which is equal to the number of students studying French. And we get 2x plus 48 equals x plus y plus 16. And if we bring x and the 16 to the left-hand side, we get x plus 32 is equal to y, which should be helpful later on. Now we have to find the number of students who study all 3 subjects. And for that, we need to find the number of students studying French. They've given us another equation, so that 74 students study only one language. So that would be this plus this plus this. Okay, so S plus Y plus 18 is equal to 74, which means that S plus Y is equal to 56. So we've also got that to rely on. But at the moment, just looking at it, it wouldn't be too helpful. We need to find something in terms of X and Y or just Y alone. So, because then we can make a set of simultaneous equations. All right, so we have to resort to another equation. So it says that each student studies at least one of the languages. So that means we can try and add everything up over here. So S plus X plus Y plus 2 plus 4 plus 12 plus 18 is equal to 100, because that should equal 100. So S plus X plus Y is equal to, so 2 plus 4 is 6, 6 plus 12 is 18, 18 plus 18 is 36, so 100 minus 36 should be equal to 64. And that means that S plus Y equals 64 minus X. And then we can actually pull back that other equation about 74 students studying only one language, now I think of it, because we're not going to get it in just those 2 variables. So S plus Y plus 18 equals, let's write that here, S plus Y plus 18 equals 74. S plus Y equals 56. And based on this, we can say that 64 minus x is equal to 56, since s plus y is equal to 56 and s plus y is equal to 64 minus x as well. So x is equal to 8. So I've not seen this question before, so I also had to do a bit of rearranging myself. In the end, this equation here does not matter for part 1. So it should matter for part 2 or part 3, but it does not matter for part 1. So x is equal to 8. We got that without using this equation over here. All right. Now we have to think of the number of students who study French only. And thankfully, we've written that x plus 32 equals y, where y is the number of students studying French. And we know x is 8. So 8 plus 32 equals y. So y is equal to 40. So 40 students study French only. And now we see why knowing that twice as many students study French as Italian is useful. So it's just about knowing when the equation is applicable. Sometimes you may have to move around things and just organize your thoughts. And that's what I had to do just now. Now we have to do the number of students who study Spanish only. This is 1 mark, so it should be a lot more straightforward. Well, we're given that s plus y plus 18 is equal to 74. So that means s plus y is equal to 56. And we know that y is 40. So s plus 40 equals 56. I'm just taking the equation that 74 students study one language only. So that means that s is equal to 56 minus 40, which is equal to 16. So 16 students. And there we go. It was relatively straightforward to do this question. It's just you can generate equations and then find out when they're applicable for you. So let's move on to another question now. Okay, this is another sets question I found, which is a bit shorter than the last and a bit easier. But I just thought it's good to cover as many different types of questions that I can find. So the Venn diagram shows information about 115 people who play musical instruments. So F denotes the people who play the flute, and D denotes the people who play the drums. So they've given us the people who only play the flute as 3x, play both the flute and the drums as 2x plus 2, and only people who play the drums as 4x plus 1. And 8 people play neither. So calculate the number of people who play both the flute and the drums. So we're trying to find the answer to x plus 2. And we're given that 115 people are shown here. So we can actually add up all these quantities here, and they should equal 115. So 3x plus x plus 2 plus 4x plus 1 plus 8 equals 115. So 3x plus x is 4x, 4x plus 4x is 8x. So 8x plus, and then 2 plus 1 plus 8 is 11. So 8x plus 11 equals 115. 8x equals 104. X equals 13. So we're given that x is 13, but we're not done just yet because the number of people who play both the flute and the drums is x plus 2. So 13 plus 2 is our answer, which is 15. So 15 people is our answer here. Okay, on the Venn diagram now, we're asked to shade F prime intersection D. So as we know, F prime means that the region that is not enclosed by F at all. And D is just, well, D. So we have to find the intersection of that. Well, let's just use different shading to denote this. So if we shade F prime one way, so let's say we shade it this way. So this is the region enclosed by F prime. So I'm not shading, as you can see, I'm not shading the F box at all, F circle at all. Okay, that's F prime. Now if we can shade D the other way. Wait, let me just shade it the other way. Then the part that overlaps, that has two different directions, is the part that's the region that we're meant to shade. And in this case, it's this region over here. Wait, let me just highlight it. It's this region over here. As you can see, there are two different, it's like a lattice almost formed in that area because it's been shaded in two different directions. The others only have one direction. So Now we can reshade this. I'm going to use a color because colors are easier to visualize. And it also doesn't remove the 4x plus 1. Okay, it's really bad coloring, but yeah, it's this region here. Okay, I'm not an artist, sorry. Okay, so now question 3. Bryony plays both the flute and the drums. Use set notation to complete the statement. One side we have Bryony, and on the other side we have F intersection D. So we're given that she plays both the flute and the drums, and that is denoted by F intersection D, which is the same as this. So we're meant to say that Bryony is part of the subset F intersection D, and the notation for that is that. And that's this question answered. Okay, so let's just do one more after this. For our final question, I've taken one from an ad math paper. However, this question, in ad math, they don't really focus too much on sets. So the question isn't exactly very hard. It's one of the easier ones. So I think even if you're in CIM, it's worth going over this. So it says on each of the Venn diagrams below, shade the region indicated. It's only 3 marks, but I think it's worth still brushing up on the skill because sometimes it can be a little confusing. So we have to shade the region A prime intersection B, and then the union of that with A intersection B prime. So first thing we have to do is identify each of these 2 parts here. So what is A prime intersection B? So A prime denotes all the areas that are not A, and B is the intersection of those which are B. So B would be all of this here, but A prime strictly states that it can't be in here because that's also where A is. Therefore, A prime intersection B, we're going to shade one way. Like we saw in the last question, shading in different directions allows us to identify the region where they overlap. Now we have to find the union with A intersection B prime. So A intersection B prime. So B prime means the area that's not B, and A is the area which is A. And in that case, it's this region here. So, knowing this, since it's union, we actually shade both those regions. So let's just do that here. Again, don't mind my shading. It's not great, but I'm not an artist. Okay, so that's part 1 done. Part 2. Now we have 3 circles. So A intersection B and then the union of C. So A intersection B is actually this region over here. And since it's a union, we can just shade it in already. And then it's union with C. So that means we shade the entire of the C box as well. So this one was definitely more straightforward. There we go. Okay, done. Now for question 3. A intersection B intersection not C. So that means we have to find the place where they all overlap. So A is this region over here. B is this region. And not C is this region. It's the region within there that doesn't have C. So that means that this must be the area, because that's where all of these regions intersect. And that's that question done. So it's only 3 marks, which means we should be done with it pretty quickly if you're an ad math student and doing this paper. But I just thought it would be worth to go over it. Anyway, that's it for this video. That's I think it for sets as well, because sets isn't too hard of a topic, and you just need to know the basic notation and how to derive equations from it to come to an answer. So I don't think it's too bad. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions whatsoever on the topic, and I'll be sure to address it. But other than that, thanks so much for watching the video, and see you in the next one.